to dedicate this bird to our fallen director, Molly Beattie. She fought with a few words about freedom on a bird that we released one time. So in her memory, I would like to call this bird Freedom.
It worked great. You did a fine job. Look at that. Oh, look.
All right. Just get up to a tree and we'll be so happy. Good. We're going to check her out later on. We'll be sure to put her up in a higher tree. Because I think we chose this because I wanted this section here to allow her, if she bails out early, then she has a way of walking around the edges and just doing it at her speed. Which you saw she had good wing power.
So now what will the bird will stay around here for a while and get her strength back?
Right. And since this bird is from the area, you can expect that once it goes up 1,000 feet, it'll start migrating back to the area of Aberdeen. That's about where it came from as an injured bird. It was really a pleasure being here with you, sir.
Oh, I love this. I loved it. It was great. Thanks. So you'll just go over there and check on her after a while.
Right. I'll have some of the department folks from Department of Environment and bring her out to the side here. There were two windy birds we let her have her time to do what she wanted. This is a great place to preserve pretty much the wildlife. Are we on a little estuary? What a way to start the day.
I like the outline.
Great.
What a great Navy day, huh? You guys see the size of that eagle? Mr. President, that was a good move not releasing that yourself. That scared me to death. Mr. President, Secretary Babbitt, Congressman Hoyer, distinguished guests, but mostly men and women and families of the United States Navy and our sister services. Welcome to the Naval Air Station, Patuxent River, Maryland. Mr. President, we're deeply honored that you would spend part of your time and part of your 4th of July with us here at the Naval Air Station. The 90s have given us an age of environmental awakening, and the Department of Defense has led that way. The Naval Air Station here at Patuxent River exemplifies environmental excellence. We're located here on the Chesapeake behind us and at the mouth of the Patuxent River. The program that we have won SecDef and SecNav National Resources, Conservation, and Environmental Quality Awards, and numerous other awards. The Naval Air Station here at PAX has demonstrated that it can carry out its military mission and preserve what nature has given us. Additionally, we help educate the local kids in the community, and we maintain community relationships through the Restoration Advisory Board. What a perfect place to release an American bald eagle, the symbol of our nation, and on this most American of holidays, the 4th of July. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing your Congressman from Southern Maryland, Congressman Steny Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Admiral Newsom. Mr. President, Secretary Babbitt, Captain Stanbridge, Chief of Staff Panetta, Jamie Clark, Craig Coppy. Mr. President, one of our heroes, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, once observed to a joint session of Congress that the American eagle held in one talon the olive branch of peace, and in the other, the arrows of war. He noted that if freedom's holy light was to remain bright, it was incumbent upon us to pay attention to both. The olive branch, Mr. President, can also symbolize not only the quest for peace, but as well our responsibility to preserve and protect the environment which God has entrusted to us during our time on earth. Mr. President, you have chosen well to come to Pax River to celebrate both the birth of our great and good country and the publication of freedom's most ringing document, the Declaration of Independence. Mr. President, we in Southern Maryland daily hear the sound of freedom as democracy's defenders, like the American eagle you released today, lift their great wings into America's spacious skies and give pause to despots and tyrants around the globe. And as you know so well, Mr. President, the men and women who serve here are the best and brightest of America's greatest resource, its people. And they also carefully preserve, protect, and restore this most beautiful part of America in which they serve. Mr. President, on behalf of all those in Southern Maryland who love America and this land and water, the United States Navy, and Pax River, let me thank you, Mr. President, for all you have done to preserve this magnificent base and our environment, and what you have done for preserving freedom here and around the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to introduce to you one of America's most gifted leaders, a geologist, a governor, a preservationist, a conservationist, a man of caring and common sense, the Secretary of Interior, Bruce Babbitt.
Thank you, Stanley. Thank you. Congressman, thank you very much. Admiral Newsom, guests. I must tell you, as I saw the President release that eagle, it's an extraordinary experience to watch that bird take wing and to think that this is the 4th of July, and this bird is the symbol of who we are together as Americans. Stenny mentioned that this eagle is a symbol of the leadership of our president. If you look at the seal right below this podium, you will see that symbol clasping the arrows of national security, the olive branch of peacemaking. As Stenny said, this eagle is a symbol of our ability as Americans to protect our natural heritage and the leadership that our president has given us in restoring our God-given environment, bringing the eagle back from the brink of extinction, restoring the wolves to the Yellowstone ecosystem, proving that as Americans we can conserve our natural heritage. It's also a reminder, incidentally, that our founding fathers were right on one of those rare occasions when they rejected the advice of Benjamin Franklin. You'll remember that he actually proposed that the turkey should be our national bird. Now, lastly, I just want to say a word of thanks to the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, and the Marines, because I want to tell you, these folks protect and cherish 25 million acres of land in this United States of America. And they have done a magnificent job of defining patriotism to include the protection of our natural heritage. And if you go to Eglin Air Force Base in Florida or out to Fort Irwin in California, to Camp Pendleton on the shores of California, here on this Navy base, you will see our military leaders setting an example for all of us as Americans, saying we can fulfill our mission and we can do it while protecting our natural environment. Thank you very much. Oh, Jamie, you're next. Now to introduce the President, I want to introduce a wonderful woman who in the Department of the Interior is known as the Keeper of the Eagles, Jamie Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. It's quite an honor for me to be here today, sharing a stage with an admiral, a congressman, a member of the President's cabinet, and the President himself is certainly not a part of my typical workday. In fact, until recently, most of my 15-year career involved slogging through salt marshes, picking my way up steep ravines, or hiking through mountains in the Southwest, working to restore endangered species in important wetland areas. So even though today isn't typical, it is nonetheless exciting and exhilarating for me to participate in this celebration of the comeback of the bald eagle. One of the highlights of my career was working for the past 3 years with Molly Beattie. She was my hero, my mentor, and a close personal friend. Her courage, passion, and vision made us all realize that when we work to save a little piece of America's natural heritage, we really save a piece of ourselves. Today symbolizes the continuation of Molly's vision. Her relatives, Herb and Michelle Morris, join us to honor her spirit and commitment to protecting all things natural, wild, and free. This is her legacy. Mr. President, Molly was extremely proud to be director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and a member of your administration. If she were here today, I could almost hear what she would say. She would say, "Thank you, Mr. President, for your defense of the laws so critical to ensuring clean air and safe drinking water. Thank you, Mr. President, for vigorously supporting our efforts to ensure the integrity of the Endangered Species Act, which has helped save the bald eagle and hundreds of other plants and animals from extinction. Thank you for knowing that part of a healthy economy is a healthy environment, and that wildlife are indicators of the health of our surroundings. And finally, thank you, Mr. President, for knowing that each community in America includes not only the streets we travel, the stores we frequent, and the places we call home, but they also include the lakes, the rivers, the mountains, and the plants and animals so critical to the balance of nature. That's what Molly Beattie would say, I am sure. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to present to you the President of the United States.
Thank you. Great job. Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, Admiral Newsome, thank you for welcoming us, and thank you for the fine work that you and your colleagues do here every day to make our country stronger in so many ways. Congressman Hoyer, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being with us today on Independence Day and for what you do every day for this district and for our nation. I'd like to say a special word of thanks to Craig Copey, who saved both of our lives out there when the eagle got a little nervous. She wanted to be free even more than we wanted to free her, I think. And to Jamie Clark, and to all those here who work to conserve our nation's treasures. We have federal employees here, we have some state employees here from Maryland who are devoting their careers to preserving our environment, our natural resources, and our precious species. And I'd like to ask all the rest of us on this Independence Day to thank them for what they do for America. Thank you very, very much. I want to thank all the people who are here from the Department of the Interior. I see Deputy Secretary Garamendi, and there are many others here from the Interior Department. We've seated this crowd today.
And I want to say a special word of thanks to Bruce Babbitt. We have fought in many ways to try to make sure that America would enhance the quality of its environment and enhance the diversity and strength of its natural resources as we continue to grow the economy and move into the 21st century. I said when I sought this position in 1992 that I did not believe that we could march into the 21st century and leave our children and grandchildren the legacy they deserve unless we found a way to grow the American economy and preserve the environment, enhance our natural resources. Bruce Babbitt has been the point person in that endeavor. He has certainly endured more personal attacks for standing up for America's environment and for our natural resources than any other member of this administration. He has fought a long and sometimes lonely battle, but in the last year we have seen the American people clearly adopting the position we have fought for all along. They know that America's future depends upon the preservation of our natural resources, and that will be Bruce Babbitt's enduring legacy. I'm very grateful to him, and I know all Americans are. I want to thank the state officials from Maryland who are here, including the Maryland State Treasurer, Richard Dixon, and Senator Mike Miller, the President of the Maryland Senate, and other senators and delegates who are here, and the people from St. Mary's County, the county commissioners who are here. I thank all of them for coming. I thank John Griffin, the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Natural Resources. And I'd like to ask, since Jamie recognized them, I'd like to ask Molly Beattie's aunt and uncle to please be recognized, Herb and Michelle Morris. Would you all stand up and be recognized? Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you. I want to say a few words about Independence Day and American Eagles. But before I do, I'd like to take just a moment on our Independence Day to celebrate and applaud the freedom and independence exercised yesterday in another part of the world. As people who cherish the right to choose our leaders and have a say in our nation's destiny, we should take just a moment on our Independence Day and reflect on what happened in Russia yesterday. When I was a boy growing up, it would have been unthinkable that in just a few decades, the Soviet Empire would be no more. The Soviet Union would be a collection of independent countries, and the great Russia would be a free country with free elections. Millions and millions of Russians, well over 60% of the eligible voters, returned to the polls yesterday and cast a free and open vote for Russia's democratic future. This is a historic achievement. The Russian people have turned their back on tyranny. They are turning the corner toward freedom. They and their leaders have cleared another important hurdle in building a new and enduring democracy. While the final results have not yet been announced, it is clear that a majority, a substantial majority of the Russian people voted for President Yeltsin and for the path of reform. I want to congratulate President Yeltsin on his re-election. Has a nice ring to it. I want to congratulate the Russian people most of all on this milestone. They have been consistent in being good citizens, turning out in these elections, and showing that they are fully capable of exercising the powers of democracy. So as we celebrate our freedom and independence, we applaud them for their freedom and independence as well. That bodes very good news for the future of the entire world as we move together into a new century. I think it is altogether appropriate for us to begin the celebration of our democracy on the 4th of July with the celebration of the rebirth of our national symbol. After our nation was founded 2 centuries and 2 decades ago, the founders chose the bald eagle to represent all that America stands for. The American president has always carried that symbol everywhere, as I have here today. Since Secretary Babbitt mentioned it, and since Benjamin Franklin had such a good sense of humor, I'm sure he would be amused to know that many people identify those of us in public life with turkeys as often as eagles, I think. On our first Independence Day, listen to this, on our first Independence Day, as many as 250,000 bald eagles soared over what is now the continental United States. Those eagles seemed as enduring as the strength, the unity, the justice, and the freedom upon which our nation was founded. And so it didn't seem to matter much in the beginning and for a long time that their treetop habitat was destroyed and that they were shot down from the sky. But Thomas Jefferson warned Americans about our environment. He wrote, "For if one link in nature's chain might be lost, another might be lost, until the whole of things will vanish by piecemeal." The bald eagle, the symbol of Jefferson's words in our Declaration of Independence, became a symbol of his warning as well. They became the victims of vanishing forests and poisonous pesticides. And 25 years ago, there remained only 400 pairs of bald eagles in the lower 48 states. Our noble bird was dying off. That make our country take a good look at itself. We saw our dirty lakes and streams, and we began to clean them. We saw soot and began to remove it and other dangerous particles from the air. We saw waste sites bordering places where families live and children go to school, and we began the work of removing hazards from our soil. We banned DDT, and both parties came together to pass the Endangered Species Act. Because America made this commitment to work together, we began to make our environment whole. We renewed our compact with nature. On this Independence Day, let me say to all Americans, we must not do anything that would weaken our health and safety and environmental laws. The freedom to breathe clean air, drink safe water, pass a safe world to our children, to share our environment with God's other creatures. These are liberties we dare not take for granted and we dare not turn our back on. Let us rededicate ourselves to our common, nonpartisan American commitment to preserve the environment. Though human deeds almost erased America's symbol from our skies, human wisdom and good sense brought it back. Now the time of the bald eagle has come again. Now more than 4,500 bald eagle pairs nest in our lower 48 states. 2 years ago, Molly Beattie, who was the first woman to serve as the director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, released a bald eagle to mark a milestone in its rebirth. The bald eagle was being officially reclassified from endangered to threatened. Last week, Molly Beattie passed away much too soon. But she left us an enduring legacy of passion for our earth and its creatures, which she instilled in all who were fortunate enough to know her. The bald eagle you saw a few minutes ago has been captive, and while it was nursed back from a fractured shoulder. And you heard Craig say when we released her that the bald eagle was named in honor of Molly Beattie. And in her honor today, I say, let us all on Independence Day rededicate ourselves to the preservation of this wonderful land and these wonderful creatures which God has given you. Thank you, and God bless America.